If you want to make use of the smartness of your group or team and the expertise of every individual in your decision-making process, then this video is for you. In this session, you will learn group decision-making methods, 5 tools to vote smart and fast with little to no prep and big results. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Hedi. I'm the founder of Hedi's Innovation Gym and your innovation trainer. Here you will learn about design thinking, team building, workshop design, and simply awesome, agile, and new work tools and strategies. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you and hit the bell to get notified each time I post a new video, which is Tuesdays. Okie doke. So I've been in the innovation business for over a decade now, and what I find most troubling or often troubling is how often we waste time in the full potential of a group or a team in any kind of circumstance, but especially if we want to take a decision. Like not any kind of decision, but a smart one, using everyone's opinion, everyone's expertise, everyone's brain, everyone's heart. But instead we often get so caught up in discussions, micro discussions, which leads to eventually not taking any decision at all, or the strongest voice wins, which is not necessarily the smartest way either, but just sort of to take a decision and move on. So now in this session, I'll give you 5 tools to prevent that. So let's dive right in. To start any kind of voting, you need to have multiple ideas. Check out my session on brainstorming exercise if that's helpful to you. The first thing you need to do is to hang them up somewhere so everyone can see them and make sure everyone also knows what each and every idea is. So that's the basic. Now we can get started with voting technique number 1, which is, I think, the simplest voting technique which I know of, and that's the dot voting. Dot voting means that you vote with dots, so give each team member the same amount of dots, for example 3 or 5, and they distribute it on different ideas hanging here. The ones they love the most, silent without explaining, so no one is primed. Either you have these actual dots, or you have a dark pen, so each one gets a pen, or in a remote setting, you simply have the remote pen and then you just roll. Use dark colors because they're better if you're using Post-its like me and you have light pens which you can't see. That's probably not a good idea. For more on that, check out my other video on the Post-it business and how to operate with Post-its. Yeah, but the benefit of the dot voting, it's super quick, it's under a minute, and you don't need prep work at all. You just roll, zack. I like this. And that's it. Okay, moving on. So number 2, and this is a variation of the dot voting, it's called criteria voting. What you do is, before you start the decision-making process, you agree on different criteria you want to vote on based on what is relevant to your project. So for example, 3 criteria. First of all, what our user or client would love the most. Second of all, what would be super easy to implement straight away. And the third, maybe what would be the biggest desired long-term vision. So you select a color for each category, like for instance, blue for user loves the most, green for can be implemented straight away, and red for biggest vision. And then you hand out the same amount to your team member. Again, you can also use 3 different colored pens. Again, also when working remote. But if you're voting live, dots are a bit better because you can actually see it and it's not like the same color. Well, you can see better where the dots go. And whatever you do, make sure that you stick or write on the paper or on the Post-its where the idea is sleeping, because otherwise it's super confusing. You never know, like, where is this supposed to go? Is it meant for this or is it meant for this if you put it somewhere in between? So on the paper is good. That's the criteria voting. The benefit of this technique is that you can vote on very specific goals and you cluster the best of, and you don't lose certain ideas, because what often happens as soon as we start voting, we get into this judgment mode, which is of course good, because what you want to do is you want to take a smart decision. So you are in this judgment mode, but interesting ideas sometimes get lost, like the visions, the long-term visions, because we jump directly on what can we do right now ideas, and then we lose certain ideas. So this can be prevented by that as well. Fabulous. Number 3, that's another variation of the dots, and that is the silent voting. What you do is you announce it's voting time, you give out the number of votes and criteria, if you like, to each team member, and then you ask your team to vote silently, which means each team member writes down the ideas he or she decides upon silently on a Post-it, on a paper, and then on a go, they all at the same time put down their votes onto the ideas they voted on. Sounds silly, but it's actually super cool, because what happens usually in a decision-making process, one starts putting down the dots and it quickly turns into the social voting situation where everyone's just focused on what that person is doing and where the dots are going. They sort of start to blink for them and all the attention is on that. So you miss the momentum of each team member really thinking about their favorite idea and then really taking a decision, not based on any kind of social voting situation or blinking post-it. You're doing awesome! So now, both number 4 and 5 are super neat when you only have a handful of ideas. Number 4 is called the magic graph, as you see here. Again, you agree on 2 categories. In this case was budget and what the user loves the most. You draw a graph and write down the categories, agree upon them, and then you have one facilitator or group member who takes charge, takes one idea at a time and is sort of the vessel for the whole team. The rest of the team, the rest of the group directs the facilitator in terms of where to put the ideas. For instance, this idea is very cost efficient, but the user, your client, probably doesn't love it very much. So it goes up here. This idea is somewhere like in the middle. But this idea, wow, that's really, really, really awesome. It is super cost efficient and user will love it. So it's up here and that is up here, that's the sweet spot. So whatever is on that line most here, that's the winner. But everyone has to be super satisfied where the idea lands. I like this a lot. If you have a team that has the ability to align super quick, the outcome is great because you have a sort of a comparison of all the ideas that you have, but it's really, yeah, you need alignment a little and you also need just a couple of ideas because otherwise it's just flooded and doesn't make so much sense. You're doing great! Awesome. So number 5 now is the heat map, as you can see here, over here, heat. No heat. This actually saved my life many times because when you have a handful of ideas and they have the same amount of votes, then what do? You vote again? No. What you do, you draw a heat map and then again you have like a facilitator or a team member, someone who is or can play neutral at this point, and then he or she takes one idea and says, okay team, how hot is this idea? And they say, it's about here, it's about this hot. And now he or she takes the other idea and says, okay, in comparison to that idea, is it hotter or is it notter? And then they say, up, down. Okay, and finally it lands somewhere where everyone is hopefully happy and you have taken a decision. That's the one. So 5 tools for group voting, for team voting, hopefully help you to make a better decision, a smarter and faster decision. Thanks so much for your time and your energy. If you haven't done so, please subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. Give us a thumbs up if this video is helpful. See you very soon, I hope, on this channel. Take care and goodbye. Cheers!